Welcome to Cooking with Chris. Today we're doing Zuppa Toscana. Come on in the kitchen with me, let's cook. So first we're gonna go ahead and get one onion, cut up, diced, and then put to the side. Then we're gonna work on some potatoes, and then we're gonna work on kale. Because those are the main ingredients of this dish. And this soup tastes absolutely amazing once you put all these together. So let's start with this onion. So I went ahead and washed the onion, and then I am going to do like I always do. I cut right down the center, making sure that I get some good sized dices. Then I turn it on its side, and then place the knife going the intersection of that. And then I just cut it straight down, and you should get some nice fine dices. We're going to do that for both sides. And of course, whenever you do it, there may be some pieces that miss the boat. Now to the potatoes. So now I have my potatoes, which I have taken, I have peeled them, and I have washed them, and then I've set them in some cold water to make sure that they don't turn on me, because you want the potatoes to stay white. So now what I'm going to do is just cut them into thin medallion sizes, or, you know, the potato shape. It's not really a medallion, but you don't want them too thick, only because you want this soup to cook quickly, but you still want them thick enough to where they have a hearty bite to them, and to where the pieces are not going to overcook and then turn into mashed potatoes. So we're just going to cut all of these into these nice shapes that look just like this. Like if you're cutting for potato chips, just a little thicker. And then once you finish cutting these, you put them right back into the water that they were sitting in, so that they don't turn brown while you're waiting to add them to your pot. Right. And I will go ahead and do that for all of the potatoes. So here I have my kale. The kale was washed about 3 times. Even though it came pre-washed in the bag, I still go ahead and wash them anyway, because you never know what kind of dirt, bugs, or anything is resting on it. You want to see how I wash my kale? I do have a video that shows how I clean my kale. Usually it's with my lemon and baking soda and water. Soak it, get in there, massage it, get all that dirt out, and then dry it off. So this is after that process. And then what I'm going to do is actually take some kitchen shears and just give it a rough chop. We're not trying to get super small pieces because it is more of a rustic soup. So we're just going to cut it into small pieces. That way, when you're eating it with the soup, it's not going to be hanging from out of your mouth. You know, we still want to be presentable here while we're eating, right? Okay. So we get those scissors, and then we will start cutting. And so what I pretty much do, I just give them really rough chop, just like this, maybe 1 chop, 2 chop. And I made sure also to go ahead and take a majority of the stems out, because they tend to be bitter. And for a soup like this, you want the taste of the kale, but you don't want all of the bitterness that comes with kale as well. So I cut that out. I know a lot of folks will also say that you're cutting out a lot of the nutritional value of the kale. Well, I didn't take out every single stem, so it's really just more of a texture thing. When this is a soup, it's not making greens or making any kind of stir fry where that stem may be able to really not really be tasted, because a lot of that is from people who don't know. This is definitely more than 2 cups, but it will still taste just as great. It'll just be a little more rustic and a little more hearty because I'm a growing boy. Maybe old, but I'm still young. So anything that I might put in my body, it will always help me grow in some way, shape, or form. Right? And that's your kale. All right. And so now we're going to start building our soup. I have a Dutch oven, and I'm going to turn the heat on to medium high. Make sure that sits directly on top of that. Then I'm going to add some olive oil. Nice little coat to the bottom of the pot. And I'm going to take some bacon, and I'm going to cut that up in the actual pan. And then this will be starting the layers of our soup. So for myself, I particularly enjoy some hickory smoked bacon because that's another added layer in flavor. So I'm going to take that and just cut it into the pan. I have about 4 strips here that I'm cutting. And just cutting them into small chunks. I am not trying to make this overly pretty because this is a hearty and rustic soup. So just cut that bacon up. And once you start to stir it around in the pot and it starts cooking, it will separate. I love using a Dutch oven because it's a cast iron pot. It's really hot, holds the heat, and it will be very fair when it comes to adding all the ingredients and cooking them as well. Right? And so after washing your hands, go ahead and grab a spoon and then start moving that bacon around in the bottom of that pan. Make sure kind of breaking it up, making sure it's not sticking together. And just letting it cook out. And you give that a few minutes until it starts looking like bacon that you have for breakfast. Nice and brown. And then we will go to our next step, which is adding our Italian sausage. And so now you can see that the bacon has gotten nice and brown. It's starting to form little crispy edges on it. This is actually the part where you're going to now add your Italian sausage. You can use mild or you can use high. Now for myself, as I like to feed members of my family, I will go ahead and add the mild sausage to the pan only because I'm feeding other folks. If it was just for me, I would be having the hot. Let's go ahead and add the mild sausage to the pan. And then we're going to brown this with the bacon. Since we already have that bacon grease in there, this is what's going to help cook our sausage. And this is going to add yet another flavor layer to the soup. So just add it to the pan and then break it up as you go. Now don't break it up as if you're doing ground beef, because you want this to be a hearty soup. So have some different sized chunks. And the OCD in me really wants to break this up. Don't break it up too much. The large pieces actually add a lot of texture to the soup. All right, and once you add this sausage, it does not take that long. to brown up. So just kind of eyeball it, because what you're going to do, once it finishes browning, you're going to take it out. So then you can start making the onions and the garlic. So we'll come back right after that. And so now the sausage has browned. So now we're going to remove this from the pan, and we're going to place it in just a plate or a dish, so that way we can add this back when it's time to continue cooking. So just going to remove this, and not to take all of the oil, because we're going to use the oil to saute the onions and the garlic for the next layer of the soup. So now we have our empty pan and our bacon and sausage to the side. Now we're going to add our onions and some garlic. And I like 3 spoonfuls of garlic. I'm a garlic man. I love garlic in my food. And here, we're going to also add red pepper flakes. Some Italian seasoning. Garlic powder. Onion powder. Some fresh cracked salt. And some fresh cracked pepper. And what the salt is going to do is pull out a lot of the liquid from those onions. So now we are going to saute the onions until they are relatively clear, and we're also softening up those garlic chunks. So we will just saute this. Also remember that when you add your seasonings to the oil, they will become heightened. So just let all of those items meld together in the pot. It's also going to start grabbing up a lot of those bits from the bottom of the pan. And this is where our flavor is starting to happen. So just let those cook for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then we will come right back. Now that the onions and garlic have gone ahead and cooked, it's now time to add the chicken broth and the potatoes. So we're going to add 6 cups of chicken broth. Now, one box usually contains about 4 cups. So we're going to add 1 box and then a half of a box. And then 2 more cups, so 4. Here is 6 cups. Now, while this is in the pan, I want to kind of scrape the bottom a little bit with my spoon, so that way I can get all of those wonderful flavor bits that happened while you were seasoning and searing the bottom of the pan with the onions, the garlic, and also your meat. So just scrape up all of that. And you can actually see them start to come up as you scrape it. Then you start to feel the smoothness on the bottom of the pan. So now what we're going to do is add our potatoes to this and bring this to a boil. So I'm going to turn my heat up to high right now. And then I'm going to add my potatoes. Now the potatoes were sitting in some water, but that's all right. I always say, the more liquid, the more soup. So everybody can join the party. And these are 4 potatoes. Cut in. All right, and so we are going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to reduce the heat and simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes until the potatoes are tender. So now the soup has been brought to a boil with the potatoes and the onions and the garlic. Now we're going to turn this down to a nice simmer, about low heat, and we're going to cook it for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then that will make those potatoes good and tender. And then we will add the rest of our ingredients back to it. There's the top, and we'll be back. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes, and the potatoes should be tender. Oh yeah, they're tender. So what I like to do now at this point is just kind of stick my spoon in there and kind of break up some of those large chunks of potato, just so that everything is not so uniform. I like to kind of break things up now. You can do it however you want, but I like to break things up a little bit. Make things fun, especially for when it's time for texture. Now, go ahead and add all of that meat back. Let's try not to leave anything out. Remember, we are adding flavor left and right. All right, so now we've added in the meat. And now we can go ahead and add the kale into the soup as well. We are building up that Zuppa Toscana, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. So now we just add that washed, cut, and cleaned kale to the soup as well. And this will go maybe for about, let's say 5 to 7 minutes. It doesn't take kale that long, especially since we took all the stems out. It won't take that long to cook. So we have all of the kale in there. And I am going to mix this up and get it into that broth so that we can get an even cook on our kale. And as soon as the kale, honestly, as soon as the kale hits the soup, it starts wilting. Kale cooks down to absolutely nothing in moments flat. So this is really just a part of that process, just making sure that we wilt that kale down and that we get any of those stems cooked and well softened. So what I'm going to do is turn that heat all the way down to low, and we're going to let this cook for about, I'll do 7 minutes since there's some stems in there. Make sure I get those down to the bottom. This is looking just like it does at that wonderful Italian restaurant. And then we'll come back and add our cream to it, and that will be our finishing touch. and so now let's see what it looks like. Oh, this is looking perfect. So you know once that kale is done, because you'll see that it has turned from that bright green to this beautiful forest green, this dark green. This is absolutely perfect. The potatoes are tender. The meat is well incorporated. All those delicious soup juices are all up in there. And now the last piece is to work on your cream. Now, what I like to do with cream is I like to temper it. Tempering means that you bring the temperature up of whatever is not the temperature, especially if it's dairy, because you don't want it to curdle in your soup and it be absolutely ugly. So add a little bit of that hot liquid to this and quickly begin to whisk it to bring that temperature of that heavy whipping cream up to the temperature of the soup, so that we are not having a curdled mess added to our soup. I'm going to give one more spoonful of broth just to make sure that this does not do what I say. So the temperature has been brought up, and now we can go ahead and add this to the soup. Switch spoons really quick. And now we just add our cream to the soup. Mix it in. Mix it, and mix it, and mix it, because you still want to make sure that we are not curdling any oil. We are not curdling any of that dairy that is now added to the soup. And now we literally have Zuppa Toscana. So now that our soup is done, you can go ahead and ladle this into a nice bowl. Tear into this. This is going to be absolutely delicious. Nice hearty soup. Great for the winter. Add some more of that broth in there. It's absolutely delicious. If you're like me, then you like to go out to eat, but you also like to save money. And in this time that we're living in, it's a lot cheaper to make stuff at home. When I used to go out to Olive Garden, my main thing was the soup, salad, and breadsticks. Now today, I made Zuppa Toscana, a soup that is a staple at Olive Garden. It has kale, it has potatoes, it has sausage, it has bacon, cream, chicken broth, put together, absolutely delicious. The flavors meld together so well. It's a rustic and hearty soup that's good for any time of the year. Now, if you go to that restaurant, then you know one of the things that they offer with everything that you eat is Parmesan cheese. And I'm about to put some on mine. Fresh Parmesan cheese, yes sir. And fresh cracked pepper, yes sir. Now it's time to dig in. I made a fresh piece of garlic bread. I have a video for that as well. But let's get into this soup, because that's the main star of this episode today. Now that's a good soup. Tastes exactly like it. Absolutely delicious. And because you made it at home, you're able to control your salt, you're able to control the sugar, you're able to control all of your ingredients. This is really good. Go make this recipe. So thank you.